So you need to start really early to develop the event, because you have to make sure it has to be quite comprehensive. You have to develop a set of materials that are based upon the content, that are analysis, interpretive kinds of questions, as well as identification. You have to put together the answer keys, the scoring sheets, the answer sheets where they fill out their answers. Make sure all the numbering is the same, it's correct. Make it set up so that that answer sheet is really easy to correct those answer sheets. And if you have to print out, you need to know, of course, how many teams are coming, and it's a two-person event, team event. You have to have enough copies for everybody, and some extra ones also, 6 or 7 extra events in case there's a page missing. You might want, maybe your venue has you turn in a clean copy of your event, whatever, but make sure that you have extra copies of your event for the proctors and the scorers to use, all of your helpers to use, or if something that you've passed out happens to have a missing page. When you organize your content, if you go to the national website, there is a section for rules, clarifications, and study information, mostly put together for teams and students, but that's also very helpful information for event supervisors to read also. And you need to balance the content in the event so that it includes most of the material that is described in the event description. Remember that the teams have read that event description that are in the National Rules Manual, and they have prepared for that content. So if they come to competition and you have developed an event that does not cover that content, then you've done a disservice to your students. Not only are they not prepared for what you've done, or you've only presented a small part of the content, and then that's the only part that they studied for, then they have no idea how well they prepared for the other part. For that team, or those 2 teams in the larger states that are moving on to national competition, they need to know with the state event how well they prepared and what they need to do to go to national competition and be successful there also as well. So please be careful when you construct your event that it meets the content within the event description, and also if for instance, for this event, for national competition, each team is allowed to bring 2 pieces of paper filled out on both sides, 8.5 by 11. They can use it for the entire event. So you need to do that for whatever venue you're presenting at also, whether it's a regional, an invitational, or a state event. You also need to develop questions that are easy to grade. Short answers are best. Some short answers are okay. 1 word is fine. Short answers are okay as long as they are not subjective. Make sure that they are not subjective. And if you have longer explanations, they can get pretty subjective, and it's kind of hard sometimes to actually score those consistently. When we score at nationals, we have one person that scores one section, a different person scores the second section, and a third person scores the third section, section C. So for consistency, because you need to make sure that every team is scored identical to every other team. So we make sure that only one person does every single individual part. Otherwise, especially if you have questions that are a little bit subjective maybe, or maybe there's more than one answer. Sometimes they come up with an answer that you did not anticipate, and their answer is every bit as correct. So you want to avoid those kinds of situations. Remember, you have to get that scoring done. You have to look and see where you are in the schedule during the day, because you need to get everything scored and tie broken and to the scorers in time for the award ceremony and those medals and trophies to be given away. Some of the questions, as you are organizing these questions, you need to have synthesis and interpretive questions, especially at the state level, that involve a synthesis of information from different sources. Maybe they need to look at the photo of the object with a light curve, with a spectra, put that all together to answer something to show that they have an understanding of basic stellar evolution. So make sure all your charts and graphs and questions are numbered very, very clearly. Avoid any confusion in your numbering system. If you number them the same way that the nationals are numbered, those states moving on to nationals will already be familiar with that numbering system, and that will make them more comfortable when they look at the event that they have to deal with at national competition. Make sure your tiebreakers are all done. Putting all the questions in tie-breaking order means that you will never run out of tiebreakers. It's very easy to break them. They can be done very quickly, and that will help you get your scoring done in a timely fashion also. Make sure that your content does not emphasize rote memorization. The majority of the event should be inquiry-based, using process skills where they have to analyze, interpret, and synthesize information, not just regurgitate the data from their resources that they're bringing. The best design for these is some pure identification. Maybe 25% of the event is identification. 50% is more synthesis involved, and the last 25% uses mathematical analysis as well as synthesis to answer the questions.